The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Meadowbrook Estates as I pulled my unmarked sedan into my driveway. After 16 hours of surveillance work on a white-collar crime case, all I wanted was a hot shower, and whatever leftovers were hiding in my refrigerator. I'd been living in this cookie-cutter suburban development for 3 years now, keeping a low profile, which is exactly how I liked it. Most of my neighbors knew me as Marcus Reed, the quiet IT consultant who traveled frequently for work. The reality was considerably different. Special Agent Marcus Reed, FBI Financial Crimes Division. I was halfway to my front door, loosening my tie with one hand while juggling my laptop bag with the other, when I heard the unmistakable sound of multiple vehicles pulling up behind me. I turned to see 3 black SUVs, the kind you can rent from any enterprise location, rolling to a stop at the curb. My training kicked in immediately. My hand instinctively moved toward my concealed firearm as I assessed the situation. 4 men emerged from the vehicles, all wearing matching black tactical-style uniforms with HOA police emblazoned across their chests in bold white letters. They wore utility belts loaded with what appeared to be zip-tie handcuffs, pepper spray, and flashlights. Leading them was a woman in her mid-40s with severely pulled-back blonde hair, wearing a black blazer over a white blouse. She carried a clipboard like it was a weapon. "Marcus Reed?" she called out, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. I set down my laptop bag slowly, keeping my movements deliberate and non-threatening while my mind raced through possibilities. "That's me. Can I help you?" She strode forward with the confidence of someone who'd watched too many police procedurals. "I'm Patricia Vandermeer, president of the Meadowbrook Estates Homeowners Association. These are my HOA enforcement officers. You're under arrest for multiple violations of community standards." I blinked, genuinely stunned. In all my years dealing with organized crime, corrupt officials, and fraudsters, this was a new one. "I'm sorry, under arrest?" "That's correct." Patricia snapped her fingers, and 2 of her officers moved to flank me. They were both in their 30s, built like guys who spent serious time at the gym, with matching stern expressions that would have been intimidating if the situation wasn't so absurd. "You've accumulated 17 violations over the past 6 months. Unauthorized paint color on your shutters, grass exceeding the 2-inch height limit on 4 separate occasions, a vehicle parked in your driveway overnight instead of the garage, decorative items visible through your front window that don't conform to community aesthetics guidelines, and—" Wait. I held up a hand, fighting the urge to laugh. "You think you have the authority to arrest me?" Patricia's eyes narrowed. "The HOA covenant, which you signed upon purchasing your property, grants us enforcement powers to maintain community standards. Section 47, subsection C clearly states." "Ma'am, I don't care what your covenant says." I pulled out my credentials, flipping open a leather wallet to display my badge and FBI identification. "I'm a federal agent. You and your wannabe tactical team need to leave my property immediately." For a moment, Patricia's composure cracked. Her eyes widened as she stared at my badge, but then her face hardened again, her jaw setting in that particular way people do when they're committed to being wrong and refuse to back down. "I don't care if you're the President of the United States," she hissed. "HOA regulations supersede all other authority within community boundaries. This is private property governed by our covenant. Your federal credentials mean nothing here." I actually laughed then. I couldn't help it. That's not how jurisdiction works. At all. "Officers, restrain him," Patricia commanded. The 2 men beside me actually reached for my arms. That was their mistake. Years of defensive tactics training made my response automatic. I sidestepped, grabbed the wrist of the man on my right, and used his momentum to spin him into his partner. Both stumbled backward. "Do not touch a federal agent," I said, my voice dropping to the tone I reserve for interrogations. That's assaulting a federal officer, which carries a mandatory minimum sentence. We have legal authority. Patricia shrieked, her face flushing red. Section 47, subsection C grants the HOA Enforcement Division the power to detain residents for covenant violations. Your enforcement division consists of civilians playing dress-up. I shot back. Those aren't real police uniforms. This isn't a real police department, and you definitely don't have arrest powers. A third man stepped forward, older than the others, with a gray beard and an air of authority. Son, I'm a retired corrections officer. I know what I'm doing. Just cooperate, and this will go easier for you. I don't care if you're a retired astronaut, I replied. You're impersonating law enforcement officers. Those uniforms, those vehicles, calling yourselves HOA police, that's a crime in this state. You're looking at up to 3 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. Each. That got their attention. The two younger men exchanged nervous glances. Even Patricia seemed to waver for a moment before her entitled fury reasserted itself. This is ridiculous, she sputtered. The covenant explicitly states. The covenant is a civil contract, I interrupted. It doesn't grant anyone arrest powers. At most, you can fine me, put a lien on my property, or take me to civil court. You cannot arrest me. You cannot detain me. And you definitely cannot send fake police officers to my home. By now, neighbors were emerging from their houses, drawn by the commotion. I spotted old Mrs. Chun from 2 doors down recording everything on her phone. The Johnsons stood on their porch, watching with undisguised fascination. Good. Witnesses. Patricia's voice rose to a near shriek. You've been flagrantly violating community standards. Your shutters are smoky gray instead of approved colonial gray. Your lawn was 2.3 inches tall last Tuesday. You parked your personal vehicle in your driveway on August 14th. And those violations, if they even are violations, are civil matters, I said calmly, not criminal. You can't arrest someone for having grass that's too tall. The covenant gives us broad enforcement powers. She was practically vibrating with rage now, her clipboard shaking in her hands. We maintain property values. We preserve the aesthetic integrity of this community. People like you, who think rules don't apply to them, are destroying everything we've built here. I took a deep breath, reminding myself that I negotiated with actual terrorists who were more reasonable than this woman. Ma'am, I'm going to explain this one more time, very clearly. What you're doing right now is illegal. Impersonating law enforcement is a crime. Attempting to falsely arrest someone is a crime. If you and your team don't leave my property in the next 60 seconds, I'm calling the actual police and you'll all be arrested. For real. You're bluffing. Patricia snapped. You're just trying to intimidate us because you know we're right. I pulled out my phone and dialed FBI emergency line. This is Special Agent Marcus Reed, badge number 47823. I need local PD to my residence for an attempted false arrest by civilians impersonating law enforcement officers.